Greece's freshly elected government goes head-to-head with the Eurozone. All eyes are on Greek Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis. Not because he's a pivotal figure, but because he looks cool as shit.
Welcome to the eye of the European storm.
This is Greece, formerly associated with carefree fun in the sun. But more recently, the skies have darkened, and we're now being told that this place is threatening to bring down with it the whole of the European continent.
Yes, it's Yanis Varoufakis, the coolest politician in the world. I mean, look at him. He doesn't even wear a tie. And he looks like a murderer. That's cool. And he rides a motorbike. He's like the Terminator, but for Greek debt. The Payulator. He's also got his own Twitter account, a blog about how money doesn't really exist, and he's got a devoted following of groupies. He's the Liam off One Direction of Greek finance ministers. But Europe seems scared of him, possibly because he looks a bit like a Bond villain. He dresses like a Bond villain, he grins like a Bond villain, and he sounds like a Bond villain.
My message to our German friends, and indeed to all Europeans, is that no hand will be overplayed.
And now, Mr. Bond, I expect you to yield. Varoufakis has been complaining about austerity ever since the 90s, when he dressed like a backing dancer from a Paula Abdul video.
We have a much higher deficit than we had in '89 and a great deal of pain in terms of a reduction in living standards.
More recently, he's been muttering dire warnings about Nazis, actual Nazis, i.e. Golden Dawn here, who came third in the Greek elections and might benefit should Syriza fall. His mention of Nazis added a bit of spicy historical beef to the economic standoff between Greece and Germany. To wear my historical hat for a moment, back in World War II, Germany occupied Greece. Hundreds of thousands of people died and the Nazis drew a forced loan from the Bank of Greece. Well, the new Greek government claims that debt has never been fully paid back. Anyway, recently Varoufakis has been out and about looking cool, touring Europe to tell financial bigwigs he wants a negotiation over Greece's crippling debts. I'm not quite sure what his strategy is, but I think it chiefly involves trying to convince everyone in Europe that money doesn't actually exist. And he's so frugal that when he travels, he carries his own luggage, he flies economy, and he avoids roaming charges by only using an imaginary phone.
And I have to tell you, I'm a great BBC fan. I've never listened to such an inaccurate report.
Yes, Varoufakis is the man of the moment. When he visited the UK, even our anchors sounded impressed.
The man who could yet bring down the euro, the new Greek finance minister, rocked up in Downing Street today in biker boots and a leather jacket.
Sure enough, as ITN skillfully depicted, he's so cool and austere, he'd walked all the way there from Greece, dressed like a cool bin man to fool the TV cameras.
In fact, this cameraman filmed the rather more plausible besooted official walking up Downing Street to meet George Osborne.
As soon as he was indoors, he looked comfortable and at home, much more so than George, as he patiently explained to Osborne that money doesn't exist, therefore being Chancellor is a waste of f***ing time. News that didn't seem to go down too well with Gideon here.
Well, it's clear that the standoff between Greece and the Eurozone is fast becoming the biggest risk to the global economy, and it's a rising threat to our economy at home.
Nah, it doesn't matter, mate. Money isn't real anyway. I read it on a blog, in Greek. I can read Greek. Anyway, having thoroughly spooked Gideon, Varoufakis slightly undermined his cool guy image when he left without his leather coat. Although, come to think of it, he'd probably sold it to someone indoors for €20, which will probably be enough to buy Athens in a few weeks.